Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Okay, so we are studying Taittiriya Upanishad, and we left off on the second portion, 2.2 basically, the second portion in the second mantra in prāṇamaya-kośa. Before we review that, that is exactly in page 164 of your book. So before we review that, I just wanted to kind of talk about why we are doing this. So I read something very interesting, how one great Mahatma said, why are we doing all of this inquiry about understanding whether we are the body, the mind, the intellect, the pranas? Why are we inquiring into this so deeply? What is the fruit of this? So he said this one story. One time he was in a train. Now the trains in India, if you see them, basically you all share seats together. It's not individual seats. There's like a flat chair and you share it. You share it with each other. And when he went to his seat, there was somebody there who was basically lying down and spreading his legs apart. And so that great Mahatma had very little room to sit, barely any room. So he sat down quietly. He said, okay, fine. If this is the space that I have to sit, let me just sit in this space. Now the person who was lying down with his feet on the seat kicked the Mahatma, insulted him, but that Mahatma didn't say anything. Anyway, he continued to sit there. And when his station came up, he left the train. And he found another great saint or Mahatma, and he said, we don't identify with the body. We say we're not the body, but why did I get so affected by this incident? That somebody was insulting my body. Somebody basically kicked me. I didn't say anything. I didn't express anything. I didn't yell, but I got offended. And I know that I've learned that I'm not the body. And so another saint told him, we get offended because we are sitting in the body. See, life affects us where we are sitting. And he gives that example. If we are sitting in a very dirty place, let's say there's a drain, a very, very dirty drain where dirty water is flowing, lots of garbage is there, and we happen to just be sitting there in that drain with dirty water, with a lot of garbage. We just happen to be sitting there, and somebody throws garbage on us. Is it our fault, or is it the person who's throwing garbage? Is it their fault? It's our fault. Because we're sitting in a place of garbage. What did we expect? We're sitting in a place where dirty water is being poured, garbage is being poured. So of course people are going to throw garbage on us. So he says we are sitting in this garbage of body, of waste of the body. We're sitting in bones, in flesh, in fat, in blood, in feces, in urine. We're sitting in this. So when we're sitting in this, what do we expect? Of course, we're going to get affected by all of the comments on this body because we are sitting in the body. If we're sitting in the mind and somebody insults us in the mind, we're going to get affected by it. If we're sitting in the ego and somebody says something about our ego, we're going to be affected by it. So he said that life depends on where we are sitting. That's all. And if we are sitting in the body and someone insults the body and we get affected, that is good. Because that's a reminder that, hey, we shouldn't have been sitting in the body in the first place. So what do we have to do? First of all, not get affected. Know that it is the body. It is happening to the body. And second, if there's something we need to do about it, do it. If there's something we need to take care of, improve upon, it's okay. But when we understand that that's not us, we have the ability to objectively deal with it versus dealing with it in such an attached way. So we're doing this inquiry to understand that our place of sitting, our place of standing, our place of rest should be the Atman, not the body, not the mind, not the intellect, not the ego. Our place of rest should be the Atman. And if we are resting there, if we are sitting there, standing there, then whatever happens to this body, mind, intellect, we won't get so affected by it. We'll still do whatever has to be done in the transactional level. But as I said, with that peace and ease and relaxation, because these are just tools. So this is the fruit of vichara or inquiry. Why we're doing this is so that we maintain a distance from all of these sheaths, all of these koshas. So we are in Taittiriya Upanishad and we're going sheath by sheath. We analyze the food sheath in great detail. And last time also we talked about just the introduction to the prāṇamaya-kośa, the vital air sheath, right? So as I said, I am on page 164. So I'm just going to read this mantra and then we'll revise it and then we're going to move on, okay? Tasmādvā etasmād annarasamayāt anyontara ātmā prāṇamaya teneisha purnaha savā esha purusha vida eva tasya purusha vidatāṃ anvayam purusha vidaha tasya prāṇa eva shiraha vyāno dakshinah pakṣah apāna उत्तरः पक्षः आकाश आत्मा पृथिवी पुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा तदप्येष श्लोको भवति. So now we're going to the prāṇamaya-kośa. Tasmād va etasmād annarasamayāt. So compared to the annamaya-kośa, or the food sheath, there is something inner. Anyontara atma prāṇamaya. Anyaha antara atma. There's something inner, and that's called prāṇamaya-kośa. Tena esha purnaha. By this prāṇamaya-kośa, the annamaya-kośa is filled. So by the prānas, the food sheath is filled. And I gave you an example last time when we met of a balloon. So how is the balloon filled? It's because of the air. So because of the air within us, that's how the body is filled. The vital energies, the air. Savā esha purusha vida eva. So that prāṇamaya-kośa, which is this, it takes the form of a human being, a purusha. Tasya purusha vidatam. And of that which takes the form of a being, anvayam purusha vidha. It follows the form of the annamaya-kośa. Because prāṇamaya-kośa is subtle. It doesn't have any form. So what does it follow? It follows the annamaya-kośa. Just like the air in the balloon follows the form of the balloon, the pranas, they follow the body. And because this is picturized as a person, so the head is the pranas, the energy that governs inhalation, exhalation. Vyano dakshina pakshaha. Vyana, the circulation, is the right side. Apana uttara pakshaha. Apana, the reverse processes are the energy that governs them, the left side. Akasha atma, the energy that governs digestion, or samana here is akasha. That is the central part. And prithvi pucham pratishta, and earth is the tail. Earth is the one that holds this. And about this, tadapi esha shloko bhavati. There's a verse that's going to glorify pranas. So this is where we left off. I just reread that. Now we're going to go to the third one. So if you look at your book, it's going to be in page number 169. Okay? 169. I will chant it. Is everybody there? It's called prāṇa, the universal life, the food sheath, and prāṇa. Yeah? Okay, I'll read it. Prāṇam deva anuprāṇanti manushyav pashavashchaye prāṇo hi bhuta nāmayuhu tasmāt sarvāyushamuchyate sarvameva ta ayuryanti ye prāṇam brahmopāsate prāṇo hi bhuta nāmayuhu tasmāt sarvāyushamuchyata iti tasyaisha eva sharira atma yah purvasya tasmādvā etasmāt prāṇamayāt anyontara atma manomayah tenaisha purnah sava esha purusha vida eva tasya purusha vidatam anvayam purusha vidah tasya yajureva shirah rigdakshinah pakshah samottara pakshah adesha atma atharvangirasah pucham pratishtha tadapyesha shloko bhavati. Okay, so first we'll start with this. Prāṇam deva anuprāṇanti. So the senses here, devaḥ means the senses, anuprāṇanti, they depend upon the pranas. So here now is a glorification of pranas. We left the food sheath and now we're coming to the vital air sheath. We kind of are shifting our identification. Before we do that, how is this identification shifted, right? So let us look at a few reasons here, and then we will look at the glory of prāṇa. When we look at the food sheath, after a thorough analysis, we understand that it is, number one, anātmā. We understand it is anātmā. Anātmā means the not self. We understand it's a not self. Why? Because there's something subtler than it. It's not the ultimate self. There's something subtler than it, which is the prāṇamaya-kośa. There's something that governs it, which is the prāṇamaya-kośa. Without air, without any vital air, without energy, the body cannot move. So the body cannot be the ultimate self because there's something else deeper that governs it. There's something subtler than it. So we say that this food sheath, the body, is the not self. Second point is the body or the food sheath is kārya or an effect. Remember, we started from this whole thing originates from Brahman, which is that Atman. Then space, then air, fire, water, earth, then food. So this is an effect. This is a kārya. Now, if it is an effect, the third thing is it's only then nāma rūpa. It's just name and form. Because the effect cannot exist without the cause. Like the bracelet, the ring, the earring cannot exist without gold. And so the bracelet, the ring, the earring, they're not a substance in themselves. They're just name and form. Because if you extract gold from it, they cease to exist. So this is just name and form. Because if we extract consciousness from it, it ceases to exist. And the fourth thing is because it ceases to exist without consciousness, it doesn't have its own existence. It's called mithyā. It's called mithyā. It's false. It's not just temporary, but it's actually false because it does not exist without consciousness. And the fifth is because it is false, pravilāpanam. Pravilāpanam means it just, if you take it and go to its substance, if you dissolve it and go to its substance, it is just consciousness alone. You dissolve, pravilāpanam means to dissolve. You dissolve this and you get consciousness alone. So taking the body, we understand it's the not self, anātmā. We understand that it's an effect, kārya. It is just name and form, nāma rūpa. It is dependently existing. So it is false, it is mithyā. And it can just be dissolved into consciousness, pravilāpanam. So in this way, we are able to move from the body. And last time we also talked about what that means for us. It means being absolutely fearless. If we just think about it very deeply, without consciousness, we have never experienced the body. We've never felt the body. We have never been able to identify with the body. Without consciousness, have we ever felt, I am this body? Have we ever been able to identify with it? Have we ever been able to do anything with it without consciousness? And if we just reflect on that point, we've never been able to do that. So we dissolve the body. The fifth step is you dissolve the body into consciousness itself. And we move now from that. We raise ourselves. Like I started this session with telling us where we sit matters, right? So now as though we were sitting in the body, now move and get up and sit in this prāṇamaya-kośa, in the vital air sheath. And let's analyze it. Let's analyze it, right? So here the senses, the sense organs, they depend on prāṇa. Devāḥ anuprāṇanti. They depend on what? Prāṇam. There's a beautiful story in the Upanishads that all the sense organs had a battle to see which one was, the supreme. The eyes were supreme, or was it the sense of hearing? Was it the sense of touch and taste? They were all battling and battling and battling. And then prāṇa said, let me leave. And if I leave, all of you will fail to function. And therefore, prana is supreme. So all of our sense organs, they depend on this energy, on the vital airs. Manushyaha pashavaha cha ye. And even all beings, we all depend on air. Without air, we could not live, cannot breathe. In Bhaja Govindam, there's a very beautiful verse that says, we fall in love so much with people's body, but if you extract the air from the body and the body's dead, you don't want to be near that body. You say, take that body away. In the beginning, oh, my mom, my dad, my husband, my wife, we hug the body so deeply. But when air is taken out and the body is dead, we say, take it away. We don't even call it mother, father, wife, husband. We say, take it away. So without air, without life, humans can't breathe. Animals can't breathe. Nobody can be alive. Prāṇaha hi bhūtānām āyuhu. And therefore, prāṇa is the āyuhu. It's the life of bhūtānām, of all beings. It is glorified as that. Tasmat sarvāyusham uchyate. Therefore, it is called universal life. It's called universal life. And it is compared to Atman. Remember, each of these are compared to Atman. The body was compared to Atman because it rises from food, sustained in food, and it dissolves into food. So it is the place of origin, it's the place of sustenance, it's the place of dissolution. So it's compared to Atman. Prana is glorified and compared to Atman because it's a source of life for everybody. So one may think that prana is Atman. Sarvam eva te ayur yanti. So everybody, those who ye pranam brahmo pasate, ye, those who pranam brahmo pasate, those who worship prana as Brahman. Those who worship prana as Brahman, I said because it's the source of all life, sarvam eva te ayuhu yanti, means they attain a full lifespan of 100 years. Those who worship prana, they attain a lifespan of a full 100 years, a full life. And prānaha hi bhūtānām āyuhu. Again, this is repeated, that prana is life of all beings. And that's why it is called universal life. So prana here is being glorified. However, prana also has its limitations, right? We know that prana is nothing but vayu vikaraha. It's just a modification of air. We also know that there's something subtler than prana. So here it says, tasyesha eva sharira atma. So of that annamaya, of that food sheath, the prāṇamaya is the body. And tasmadva etasmad prāṇamayat. But greater than this prana or subtler than this pranamaya-kośa, anyontara atma manomaya. There's something inner. There's something inner, and that's called the mind. The mind is subtler. The mind governs the prana. The mind can control the prana. Tena esha purnaha. By the mind, this prana is filled. Sava esha purusha vida eva. This mind also takes the form of a being. Tasya purusha vidatam anvayam purusha vidaha. It takes a form of the being based on the previous. So the mind takes the form of the prāṇamaya-kośa, which takes the form of the annamaya-kośa. Tasya yajureva shiraha. The head of the mind is the Yajur-veda. Rig dakshinav pakshaha. The right side is the Rig Veda. Samottarav pakshaha. The left side is the Samaveda. Adesha atma. The central part is the instructions. Atharvangirasav pucham pratishta. The Atharva Veda is the tail. And now there's going to be a verse about the mind. So let's think about this for a moment. What happens when we live in the realm of prāṇamaya-kośa? When we live in the realm of prāṇamaya-kośa, we become very identified with our energy levels. So there are some people who become so identified, so obsessed with their bodies that they do everything possible to cater to their bodies. They're always thinking about their diet. They're thinking about their exercise, what food they eat, their sleeping habits. So all their time, all their attention gets stuck in the body level. That's where everything goes. So we think we are the body, all the attention goes there. Now, when we think that we are the prāṇamaya-kośa, because it's a source of life, it's a source of energy, all the attention goes there. All the attention goes in cultivating good energy, soothing energy, calming energy, a lot of pranayama practices, yoga asana practices. And this is all fine. Remember, all of it is fine. But what's happening here is excessive attention, excessive time, excessive things spent towards that, when that is not the self. So one who's getting stuck in prana is just stuck in this realm. The beautiful thing about the prāṇamaya-kośa and the mind, and this is also said in Upadeshasara, is that they both have the same root. So whenever we want to connect to the mind, we can slow down prana. Whenever we want to especially meditate, whenever you want the mind to calm down, to be single-pointed, we can slow down the breath, we can calm the breath down, we can hold the breath so that we hold the mind. So prana is very useful for that. The body has its use. The body is a tool where we can seek. It's a tool by which we can seek. So we keep the body healthy. The prana is very useful because when we calm it down, we can calm down the mind. But it is still not the Atman. Although it's a source of life, it is modification. It comes and it goes. Even in the deep, even if we say that prana is always there in deep sleep, but sometimes in samadhi, in deep states of samadhi, even that stops. Even all these energies stop. So therefore, it cannot be the Atman. Something subtler is the mind, annamaya-kośa now, going to the third sheath. And this annamaya-kośa is that thought of the nature of doubts, of the nature of emotion, that is called annamaya-kośa. So whenever we're in doubt or we're in an emotional state, that is called the mind. Now here, when it talks about the mind, the different facets of the mind, Yajur-veda is the head. Why Yajur-veda is the head and why it's linking us to the Vedas? Because the Vedas are the total mind. The Vedas, what we call, are apaurushaya. They're not a product of an individual mind. They happened because each of these rishis and rishikas, they contemplated and they tuned in to the total mind. So the mind becomes very, very beautiful It's a beautiful tool, but when does the mind become a beautiful tool? The mind becomes a beautiful tool when it is tuned into the total mind. So I have mentioned this in some of our classes. In the common day right now, there's a lot of emphasis on thinking with logic, thinking with systems, observation, experimentation, brainstorming and pros and cons and analysis. While all of this is very good, it is not the deepest way to think. The deepest way to use the mind is actually not to think. It's actually not to think. The deepest way to use the mind is to tune into totality. It's meant to be intuitive. Life is actually not so hard where we have to think about how to do this and how to do that and where to go and what to do. We spend so much time, and all that's doing is asserting the ego. What do I want to do? Where should I do? Where should I go? What goals should I set? All of this kind of thinking is really good in the initial stages of spiritual life, but what that does is asserts the ego so much. Why the Vedas are given as the different facets of the mind is it's telling us to stop thinking like this, tune in to totality. And we tune into totality best when the mind is silent. When the mind is silent, all answers come. We need not look for them. We need not look for what to do, where to go. We need not do all of that. And that's definitely not what we're supposed to do in life. What we're supposed to do in life is to turn inward, keep turning inward. That's our only dharma. That's our only duty, is to keep turning inward. And as we keep turning inward, everything gets revealed to us. Beautifully, it just gets revealed to us. It's actually so easy. It's not so hard. And in that turning inward also, what happens is the ego diminishes because it realizes it's really helpless. It really can't do much. It's just when we tune into, you say Ishvara, the Veda mantras, the total mind, Antaryami, whatever word we want to use. We want to use God. That's when everything comes. So Yajur Veda is the head because the Yajur Vedas, the priest of the Yajur Veda, is the most prominent in all of the rituals. So it is the head. The Rig Veda is the right side, and the Sama Veda is the left side. And all of the instructions are the center. Ādi Śaṅkarācārya. Why is that the center? Why is that the trunk? Because if only we follow the injunctions of the Veda, then we are centered. Whenever we follow what is to be done, life is very easy. Swami Tapovan Maharaj gave a very beautiful quote. He said that the only goal in life is God realization. Anything that takes us towards that is called dharma. And anything that takes us away from that is called adharma. That's it. So whenever we want to know what is right, what is wrong, it's as simple as that. Keep God realization as the goal. Whatever goes towards that is dharma. But whatever takes us away from that is adharma. So the injunctions, the adesha is the center. Because whenever we follow that, whenever we live by that, it keeps us centered. And Atharva Veda is the tail. Now about the mind, there's going to be a verse to glorify it. So now we've come from the pranas to the mind. Before we go to the verse which glorifies the mind, again, bring back all 5 things. The prāṇamaya-kośa is what we call anātmā, the not self. Why is it the not self? Because there's something deeper than that. There's something inner. There's something that can control it. Mind can control it. Mind can say, hold your breath. Huh? And it's also changing. It is relying on something else to control it, to govern it, to support it. Therefore, it's the not self. It is not Atman. It is a not self. It is an Atma. Prāṇamaya-kośa is also kārya. It's an effect. It's an effect. It is not the absolute cause. Absolute source is Brahman. And the prāṇamaya-kośa third is only nāma rūpa. It's only name and form. It's only name and form. Because without consciousness, it doesn't exist. Just name and form. And the fourth point, because of that, it is mithyā. It is false. And the fifth point is pravilāpanam. Dissolve that pranamaya into consciousness. We're dissolving it now into the manomaya-kośa, but ultimately dissolve it to consciousness. Because have we ever felt ourselves breathing without consciousness? Right? How do we know what prāṇamaya-kośa is? How do we know that we are prāṇamaya-kośa? How do we know breath? How do we feel breath? It's only through awareness. If we can never separate awareness from breath, awareness from the body. We cannot separate it. So therefore we dissolve pranamaya into awareness. And as I mentioned, in that deep state of samadhi, the self is self-evident as it is, without the body and without even the pranas. We can actually exist without it in very, very deep states. Now he's going to glorify the mind. So he's glorifying the mind, just like he glorified the annamaya-kośa, he glorified the prāṇamaya-kośa. He said that it is the source of all life. Now he's going to glorify the manomaya-kośa. So I'll go ahead and read this. This is now on page 176 of your book. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidvan na bibheti kadachaneti tasyaisha eva sharira atma yav purvasya tasmadva etasmat manomayat Anyontara atma vijñānamayah tenaisha purnaha sava esha purusha vida eva tasya purusha vidatam anvayam purusha vidaha tasya shraddhaiva shiraha ritam dakshinah pakshaha satyamuttarav pakshaha yoga atma Mahaf puchham pratishtha tadapyesha shloko bhavati. So what it says here, yato vacho nivartante, yataha, wherefrom vachaha, all speech, nivartante, it turns back, aprapya, without reaching it, manasa saha, along with the mind. Anandam Brahmana Vidvan, the one who knows the bliss of Brahman, na bibheti, does not fear kadachana iti, at any time. Tasya esha eva sharira atma, of that former one, the prāṇamaya-kośa, this is the body. This one is the body of the prāṇamaya-kośa, of the previous one. So how is this glorifying the mind? Here, this statement actually comes twice. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha. It comes here, and then it comes later on when we speak about Brahman. In this context, it's speaking about Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha means the total cosmic mind. And what it's saying is that all speech, when it tries to describe that cosmic mind, when it tries to understand that cosmic mind, it fails. And even that individual mind, when that individual mind tries to understand the cosmic mind, it fails. Actually, what happens is the individual mind dissolves and the cosmic mind becomes our identity. So, if we try to describe, to understand, to know this cosmic mind, which is what the Vedas, or where the Vedas originated from, if we try to get to it, we won't be able to do it. What we have to do is just dissolve our individuality and realize that we are that total mind. And this is beautifully stated in Mandukya Upanishad also. In Mandukya Upanishad, it says that before we even begin to realize Brahman, before we begin to say, I am Brahman, we first have to make ourselves a total unit. There cannot be true realization of truth without making ourselves a total unit. What does that mean? That means that in this level, in the body level, for me to overcome body identification, for me to get rid of identifying with this one body, I have to take the whole world as my body. I have to learn how to take the whole world as my body. Because if we really look at it, the whole world is our body. This body cannot exist without earth. Where do you draw the difference between earth and this body? You cannot. Earth keeps coming in this body and keeps going out. Where do you draw the difference between total water and this body? You cannot. It's so connected to water. If you extract water, this body doesn't exist. Where do you draw the line between the heat in this body and the outside heat? You cannot. It's the same. If you take out the heat from this body will die. So you cannot divide it. You cannot say that this is my body, this is the heat in my body, and this is the heat outside. There's no difference. If you take out this heat, we will die. So we are only total heat. There's no, this is the air of my body and this is the total air. There's no difference. You cannot differentiate it. There's no, this is the space of my body and this is that space. So we really, really cannot differentiate our individual body from the total body. And if we try to do that, this body will die. So the first steps to recognize that we are Brahman is identify first with totality at the body level, and here at the mind level. At the mind level, take the whole thing to be you. You are that. Connect with that. Because there is no single thought or idea or concept that we would have had on our own. It's absolutely impossible. We copyright and we patent things, and we say that we created this and we created that, but it's absolutely impossible for one single mind without the help of any other mind to do something on their own. Just very practically, so many people taught us the alphabet. So many people in our lives taught us language, how to form sentences. And because of their help, we're able to do what we do. So here it says that identify with that total mind. Where speech cannot go, the individual mind cannot go, we just dissolve in that total mind. And make that, expand to that level, expand to that level. And when we do that, Vidvan Anandam Brahmanaha. We are able to experience here of Brahman means of this total mind or Hiranyagarbha. We are able to experience that bliss of totality, that connection with totality. What is that bliss? As I said, that bliss is that intuitiveness where everything is seamless, everything just gets revealed to us, everything just comes, everything is very natural. That kind of bliss, that bliss of being connected with totality. That's what one experiences at the mind level when the mind expands. Nabibheti kadachaneti. And there is no fear. There's no fear. Why? Because when you take everything to be yours, when you take everything to be connected to you, then there's no fear of a threat. It's like when you go to meeting your family or meeting your loved ones. You feel that everybody's you, everybody's with you, connected to you, knows you. Then there's no fear there. There's a security, there's a comfort. So when we take ourselves to be this total mind, we take everything to be ourselves, then there is no fear. Everything is only us. Everything is only us. So why are we afraid of it? And therefore, no fear. Then inert to this mind, there's also going to be the intellect. But we will stop here for now. This is a good stopping point. And then next week we will take up the different sides, the different facets of the intellect. I'll just summarize a few points and then we can, see if there are any questions, and then we can sit quietly. Today, we spoke about the importance of where we sit. Depending on where we sit, that's where we get affected in life. So if we rest, if we sit in the Atman, then we absolutely have no issues, no problem. We also spoke about how in order to sit in the Atman, we're moving from the food sheath to the vital air sheath and to the mental sheath, understanding that each of them really cannot exist without the Atman or without consciousness. And that's why that's not our real nature. They really, really cannot be different from awareness, different from consciousness. And so as we get subtler and subtler, the sadhanas that we take up, it doesn't mean that we disregard the body completely. As I said, there's a sadhana for each one. For the food sheath, the sadhana is to keep a healthy and fit body, enough for us to seek. For the vital air sheath or the prāṇamaya-kośa, it's to be able to use our breath to guide our mind. Whenever our mind is in disarray, it's to be able to use our breath to guide the mind. For the mental sheath, what is the sadhana or the spiritual practice? It's to be able to tune into totality. Stop thinking and over-analyzing and calculating. That's all the hallmarks of the ego. So be able to tune into totality. And then next week we'll get up to the intellect, and we'll see also what's the sadhana for the intellect. What's the sadhana for the annamaya-kośa. And slowly as we get subtler, then we will be able to transcend in understanding to the Atman. So that is the way that this text flows. And after we do that transcendence and sit in the Atman, it explains the bliss that a person experiences in life upon the realization of this self. Right? Okay. So we'll stop here, say the closing prayer. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.